Boker Tov. It is the 25th of May. And I don't know, I think I have about 20 more days in Facebook jail, maybe 22. Why? I'll tell you that in a minute. But because I'm in Facebook jail, I'm not able to use my First Amendment right on the absolute dominant social media platform of Facebook. So I can't say what I want to say because they've silenced me. Facebook has silenced me for 30 days. What I want to say right now is it's pretty sad and amazing that as Hamas publicly thanks Iran directly and explicitly for supporting and making possible its victory over Israel in this recent crisis, which is obviously not over, but in this recent crisis, publicly thanks Iran for their success. Well, what success? Launching missiles randomly at Israeli civilians. Okay, hurling, I don't know, what is it, 4,000 missiles or whatever that number is, 2,500 missiles, even if it was just one, shooting it at civilian populations. These missiles aren't targeted at military. To the contrary. Not only that, a good portion of them are landing on their own people, killing their own brothers and sisters, and then they capture that footage and they use that in their propaganda war. So that's what's happening. And at the same time this is happening, you have a president and members of Congress who are desperately, actively seeking funding for Iran, seeking to lift sanctions on Iran, seeking to give Iran a deal which will provide them a pathway to nuclear weapons. These two things are happening at the same time. How can that be? How can you explain that to me? You can't. There is no explanation other than we are becoming a wicked nation. We are so at a turning point. And this week with the Parsha Behalachat, we are just before the sin of the spies, but we're at a point in the story where the Jews are dissatisfied. God has given them manna, saved them, and they're still not satisfied. They desire their own desires. The Mitzrayim, the Egypt is still in them. And they want to return to Egypt. Why die in the desert when they had bounty in Egypt? This is my people. So misguided. So wrong. And we are again, a lot of us. There's a lot of Reform Jews who are making similar mistakes. We need to turn to God, not turn to Iran. We need to support the nation of Israel, not the nation of Iran, not our enemies. It's not to say we wish our enemies death, but we would choose their death over them killing us. You choose to save the life, and if you have to take life to save life, you do. If that life is choosing to take your life, you have every right to defend yourself. There is such a thing as a mandated war. There are two kinds of wars in the Bible. One is the kind of war where, you're fighting over an issue, You go to the Sanhedrin at the time. People make a decision and they vote like Congress to go to war. That's one kind of war, and you need the people's support for that war. And then there's another kind of war. It's a mandated war. You might say a holy war. It's a war that God commands you. Like Joshua fought. Like Gideon fought. This is not a war that requires your opinion, America. This is not a kind of war that you get to vote on. When in your lifetime, your parents' lifetime, your grandparents' lifetime, your great-grandparents' lifetime, and so on, have you experienced foreign countries, foreign enemies, attacks on our soil? 9/11. 9/11, where was that launched from? The Middle East, from Saudi Arabia, from jihadists that wanted our destruction. From essentially the same people that want our destruction of Israel today. There's one thing that Shia and there's one thing a lot of people agree on. I'll say it that way. There's one thing a lot of people agree on, is that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Well, when somebody's threatening the right to exist, you have the right to defend yourself. And America doesn't have a say, doesn't have a vote. It's pretty amazing what our president and members of Congress are doing. And just as amazing is that people in America are putting up with that they voted for that. Oh, come on. You can't say to me, you didn't know it would happen. You can't. He campaigned on it. One of his main campaign promises was to do exactly what he's doing today. Did you vote for that? Yeah. Then it's your responsibility too. Then you own the destruction on Israel. Are you happy about that? Then change your mind. It's Occam's razor, folks. This is so simple. This is so obvious. It is really amazing that I can't speak my mind about this on social media, Facebook. Oh, why did they ban me? If you didn't already know, because I had the inappropriate comment by their guidelines to say something that every one of us is thinking. I simply said, can you imagine if one of those rockets, missiles, whatever they are, that's being fired on Israel randomly, dropping wherever they drop, can you imagine if one of those landed on the Alaska Mosque? Can you imagine if that happened? Which I followed immediately with, I do not wish that to happen! Exclamation point. But wouldn't that be something? And what would we make of that? Well, you know what would happen. Iran would blame Israel. They would even blame Israel for the Hamas rocket that landed on it. That's right. And you know as well as I do, because they will always blame Israel. Because that ultimately their charter, their mission is not peace, it's destruction. Wake up, America. Wake up, Jews. That's my vent. I'll continue walking. You have a good week.